Thank you so much, Brenda. There are seats up front if you're brave enough to make your way. We have tables that are empty and some seats here and there, so please walk through so you're not standing. So welcome. As Brenda said, this is our 18th annual New York State Supportive Housing Conference and the 30th year of our history and existence. So very exciting. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you to all of our amazing panelists, moderators, and sponsors, and of course our many volunteers who, without you, this day would not be what it is. I would also like to take a moment to thank the Marriott. Their staff, managerial, the people serving us today are amazing, and they help us make the day a huge success. And last but not least, I want to recognize the devoted staff of the network who work so hard on every detail of the conference. If you are in the room, can you stand up and wave? Be great. I want to especially thank Sydney Kopp-Richardson, Raj Hussain, and Cynthia Stewart, who without their guidance and hard work, this day would not be possible. Thank you. While preparing for today, I have been looking back on what a remarkable year and history we've had as a community. Over the last 30 years, New York State has stood as the example of what supportive housing can do in breaking the cycle of homelessness. We have seen the birth of the low-income housing tax credit, city and state capital programs that have spanned decades, regardless of which political party is in office. We have seen the innovation of Housing First, removing barriers to entry for supportive housing. We have gone from housing mostly single, mentally ill adults to housing families, youth aging out of foster care, runaway and homeless youth, persons with HIV and AIDS, and veterans. And now we are well on our way to creating 35,000 new units of supportive housing. I want to take this moment in time to speak about the staff who work in supportive housing day in and day out. Many of you are in the room today. You are the reason why this transformation can happen. I had the privilege of speaking to staff from Urban Pathways, CAMBA, CUCS, and Breaking Ground, and I hope these conversations resonate with you. Many of the folks I spoke to knew from early on that they would go into social work. They took care of their siblings, tutored friends, gathered the kids in the building to walk to school because the parents had already left, and basically watched out for others. Others who I spoke to actually had taken a complete 180 in their career and left banking or finance to come into supportive housing. But everyone wanted to do more with their lives than just receive a paycheck. They wanted their work to have value and meaning at the end of the day when they walked to the train or got in their car to go home. The staff have found the people they work with to be incredibly resilient, even though they have experienced tremendous trauma in their lives. They have learned so much from the tenants. They teach you how life can be so beautiful by sharing really powerful reflections. Of course, the work can be stressful and difficult, but they see something encouraging each day. Every day is interesting because you never know what might happen in supportive housing. One director shared the story of waiting in the lobby every morning to say hello to a tenant who had been on the street for 15 years and through years of habit didn't speak to anyone. He greeted Mr. Johnson every day for months. Then one morning, he couldn't make it to the lobby, and lo and behold, tapping on his window was Mr. Johnson, asking him if everything was okay. It was the start of their friendship where they began to talk in earnest. Mr. Johnson passed away 8 months later, but a connection had been made with someone who really cared about him. Without this staff person's dedication, this relationship would have never been formed. Of course, there are challenges faced every day, getting tenants' needs met in a realistic time frame that the tenant agrees with, which is often a little challenging. Living in community, substance abuse relapse, mental health issues, and in some cases, the heartbreak of losing a tenant. One clinical supervisor shared, "Mental illness and homelessness are both so stigmatizing, let alone the two in conjunction. Working with our tenants through a social work lens counteracts this in a way by giving them dignity, respect, autonomy, and space to experience consistency through the therapeutic relationship. This can be hard to navigate, but this is also the beauty of social work and the medium of human relationships." So beautifully said. So I would like to ask the dedicated and passionate people who work every day in supportive housing to please stand up and be recognized. Lovely here. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. That gives me chills. It's so great to see so many of you. I hope everyone has an amazing day. I am personally very excited about the variety of topics that we are discussing in our workshops. Many of them will be videotaped and recorded, so if you can't clone yourself, you will be able to access it from our website in a week or so. And of course, the day ends with a gathering of friends at the reception at 5 p.m. So please join us, and thank you so much for coming. So it's my pleasure now to introduce our keynote speaker, Jacqueline Woodson. Jacqueline and I have known each other for over 10 years. I first met her dropping off our daughters in kindergarten in our haste to get the kids to school and the day started. And I've had the pleasure of watching our girls grow as they now enter 11th grade, becoming young women ready to change the world. Neither one could be here this morning because they have finals, so that was unfortunate. While I always enjoyed seeing Jacqueline and conversing about the small things in life, it wasn't until my daughters and I started reading her literature that I came to have a deeper and more profound understanding of who she was as a mother, woman, teacher, artist, and author. In fact, I'll never forget the evening my daughter Ava came to my bedroom and read me a passage from Jacqueline's book, Brown Girl Dreaming, as it spoke to her very deeply. We both enjoyed that book immensely and felt privileged to have experienced her art and her storytelling. It was that moment that I knew we needed to have her address our community. Through powerful storytelling, Jackie is able to make people see the experiences of those left on the margins from a different perspective. Her books bring issues of racism, economic injustice, social exclusion, prejudice, and gender identity into mainstream literature. They speak to millions of youth and adults who see themselves in her stories. She legitimizes their struggles and their experiences. As a national ambassador for young people's literature, she has been touring the country, talking to young people in detention centers, prisons, schools, and in underserved communities about their experiences and inspiring them to remain hopeful. To quote from her book, The Day You Begin, "There will be times when the world feels like a place that you're standing all the way outside of, and all that stands beside you is your own brave self, steady as steel and ready. even though you don't know what you're ready for. When I look out at this room, I see a crowd of people who are steady as steel and ready. I hope you find Jacqueline's message today to be as inspiring as I do. Please join me as welcoming Jacqueline to the stage.
Good morning. Wow, it's a lot of people here. It's such an honor to be on the stage and talking to you.